And then also dealing with discrimination. With the civil rights legislation, a lot of the support and kind of the way they made their case for the need of that legislation was based off of families' experiences traveling. They had a lot of people talk about their experiences, you know, how awful it was to travel with their children and to not be able to do these experiences or to have their children see certain things happen. That was really how a lot of the case was made for the need for that legislation, was based off of vacations. So the history of family vacations is really a story of an industry responding to what families need and what they wanted. So then that kind of brings us to, well, what are families wanting now? And what will they want in the future? How are families changing? And what does that mean for the travel industry? So some current trends about family vacations today. As has been discussed, there's been this huge increase in family vacations in recent years. Family vacations are becoming shorter and more frequent. And there's this huge increase in intergenerational travel. So grandparents traveling with both the parents and the children, or just the grandparents and the children. This is especially the case among Hispanics and African Americans. And then also the influence of technological advances on how people plan trips, the mode of travel, more people are flying than before, and the experience of family members while on vacations together. So like people have talked about before, constantly having to check email, everyone having the cell phone, the kids texting their friends while they're gone, so the whole experience of vacations is touched by technology. As far as the family vacation research today, it kind of falls into these three areas. The decision making, the role of the children is being studied by a few people, how children are more involved in how vacations are planned, where they go, what they do. The economic impact of family vacations, and then also benefits to individuals. So things that individuals are getting from these vacations, but not so much what the family as a whole is getting. So looking at family vacations tomorrow, where are families going, and what does that mean for the travel industry, we came up with some possible research questions using 4 theories that we thought were relevant. So we'll get into some of that. Go ahead, Joel. The first theory that we used was leisure constraints theory, and that basically talks about why is doing this together hard, and what can be done to help negotiate these constraints or these challenges. So some possible questions from this theory. What constraints do families face to going on or enjoying family vacations together? How do these differ among family members, and for whom, what context? We talked about how for some families, maybe traveling with extended family is a constraint. Maybe that makes it hard for them to enjoy it or to do it. But for other families, that may be a way to negotiate that constraint. It may make it more enjoyable, less work for the mom. So kind of for whom context. And then how do families negotiate the constraints? And what can be done to help them negotiate the constraints that they face? The idea of leisure affordances is basically that things can be done in the environment or in a social setting to help ease those constraints, help make it easier to enjoy things. And then are there times when constraints for family vacations may actually be good for families? The idea that a constraint isn't necessarily bad, but that it can be good, such as enabling constraints that make participation possible. And Joel and I have talked about, we have a 2-year-old, and we think a lot of the things that maybe I view as constraints, and so we end up doing certain things, and then I enjoy it. I think, well, I never would have done that in the first place. So because we have certain constraints that we experience, it kind of enables participation in things that I otherwise wouldn't have done and that we can enjoy. So then the next theory that we looked at was family systems theory. That basically says that a family is a dynamic system where all the family members influence each other and their experiences. So it's not just, I'm doing a vacation, there are these other people here with me, but their experience, my 2-year-old's experience, if she's having a bad day, that's going to influence my experience on the vacation as well. So some questions from this framework: what exterior influences are there on a family's enjoyment of a vacation? What is the family structure? Who composes the system, and how is that changing? Again, kind of with the intergenerational family, as the travel industry talks about providing family vacations, we have to be really aware of, the family's not just parents and child or a single parent and child, but now we've got grandparents and children. So who composes that structure? And how does that affect family vacations? Decision making, destinations, behaviors, everything that's involved in that is going to be changed and is changing by, well, who is the family and how it's so different for everyone. How do family members influence each other's experience on family vacations? And then, as Sue was talking about, how do family vacations influence the formation of a family's identity? Some more things from family systems theory. How can family vacations influence or reinforce a family's belief system? That's similar with kind of their identity. What behaviors do family vacations encourage or stifle in family members? Systems theory talks a lot about kind of emergent behaviors, things that come out in certain situations. So what comes out or is stifled in the vacation setting? How can families meet goals and different needs of family members with the same vacation? So it goes back to, we've got a teenager, a toddler, parents, maybe even some grandparents. How do we meet needs of everyone with the same trip and do something that everyone enjoys? Oh, that's the next one. And then, what do they do for the whole family system? Not just for the individual family members. This has been looked at in some of the research, but what are they doing for the whole family? The third theory we looked at was developmental role theory, and that basically says that families at different stages have different challenges. So some things that could be looked at from this theory: how do family vacations change and differ across the developmental stages? How do they differ across cultures, ethnicities, and religions? How does the transition to parenthood change family vacations, and what can be done to help vacations be more enjoyable at this stage? How can or do family vacations play a role in transitions between developmental stages? And why has there been such an increase in intergenerational travel in the past few years? And kind of what does that mean for society and for the travel industry? The last one that we looked at was work-family border theory, and Bill Norman, I worked with him on this project, introduced me to this, and I think it's a very relevant theory to kind of the current vacation situation. And it is a theory, you can go back, basically says that work and family are two domains of people's lives that influence each other. So I can't just leave work at home, they influence each other. So some questions from this side: how do parents' work influence family vacations? This comes to the amount of time available for family vacations. Again, the effects of technology, parents still being expected to be connected, or even if they're not expected, still either wanting to be or having that ingrained in them that, well, I can't let it go. I need to keep checking my email or phone. And then the effects of combining family vacations with travel for work. That's still, that was something that came up in the history, but it's still a current trend that a lot of people, when they travel for business, they make that a family trip as well. How can family vacations be used to increase supportive family relationships, and what is the consequent influence on work stress experienced by parents? And this kind of goes to what Sarah, I forget her last name, this morning was talking about, kind of that integrated life where everything's working together. You can go on. What workplace policies currently encourage families to take vacations together? And this really comes to, I think, a lot of the Vacation Matters things and some of that legislation. How could the culture surrounding taking vacation time be changed so you're not seen as a bad employee if you want to take vacation time with your family? And what can be done to help supervisors support employees in taking advantage of that vacation time with their families? And last, how do families use family vacations to improve interpersonal relationships and create meaning in the family domain, as we've talked about already? So in conclusion, really the world's constantly changing. There are some things that are the same, as we talked about the history, but there are things changing. Families are changing. And so really, the travel industry needs to start thinking about, well, what will families want? Where are they going from here? And what do we need to do to respond? So really, as these questions and other questions are asked about family vacations, families and society responds and takes steps to answer those questions, I think we can help families really get more out of family vacations and help them fulfill their potential. So that's it.